Welcome! My name is Qliphoth, and this video will share my experiences with Lilith, the great demoness ruling Gamaliel, the cliff of Yesod, and the moon. My relationship with her began when I was initiating myself into the Qliphoth, the Tree of Death. Although the concept of the Qliphoth and the Tree of Death is indeed something discussed in more traditional sources of Kabbalah, I couldn't find a traditional list of associations between the Qliphoth and its demonic rulers, although that would be natural, given that the Sephiroth have their ruling archangels. And if the Tree of Death is a shadowy reflection of the Tree of Life, emulating its structure, it would make sense for them to have rulers as well. The magical system I use to explore the Qliphoth is based on Thomas Carson's work, which is a modern work. I gotta say, I have many disagreements with a lot of his arguments about the divine, but he does share meaningful Kabbalistic research, plus his list of Qliphoth rulers, many indeed being drawn from Kabbalistic sources, even if they weren't associated with any Qlipha. If you follow my videos, you may know something of my magical approach, and my Qliphothic adventures happened a few months after finishing the Abramelin. In conversations with my holy guardian angel, I wondered about the Qliphoth, and he told me that it would come the day of working that system, but that I should prepare for a while with a heavier meditation, ritual, and astral travel regimen. He said I would need it because I should work with them in the same structure I did for the Abramelin hierarchy. So if you want to know that structure, I recommend you watch that video. But I followed his instructions and I spent a few months preparing until one day, almost out of nowhere, a few days after I had finished reading the Thomas Carson book I mentioned, my HGA told me that it was the best day to do it. Since we'll be discussing my experiences with Lilith, I think a brief discussion of my current view of her is in order. If you've been watching this channel, you already know that I'm a non-dualist, meaning that to me everything that manifests is a manifestation of the divine. Therefore, it all is to be accepted, dealt with, and healthily integrated, for it is all a part of you. Due to the fractal nature of the divine, every part reflects the whole, and since all parts contain the whole, its oneness is never lost. From this perspective, all dissolves into one, in a way that Lilith can fully embody and manifest multiple facets. She is the queen of succubi, a fierce demoness, and she is a protector of women and of her followers. She's also a potent force of sexual liberation and empowerment. You'll see all of these aspects throughout my experiences. I know this may feel contradictory to some, but to me as a devotee of Kali, this is normal. Kali is the highest goddess, the creatrix of all existence, inseparable from its divine, transcendent, and unmanifest stage. But she is also the goddess of all demons, and wishes the best for all beings, humans, demons, or whatever kind. She is fierce and severs the head of her devotees, destroying their attachment to their body, mind, and individual existence. Her very being invites non-duality. So keep in mind that these entities can truly embody multiple facets. I cannot go on with this video without giving a sincere thanks for all the women in my life and everywhere through all of space-time, for they're all beautiful expressions of the Divine Mother. May we soon live in times where women get the respect they deserve within our social structure. And I hope what I'm gonna say doesn't take away from my gratitude, but since I'm sharing spiritual content to expand awareness of non-duality, I do have to say, of course, all men, all animals, and all forms of life are also manifestations and expressions of the Divine Mother. But before we jump into the story itself, if you enjoyed this video, I ask that you leave a like, subscribe, activate your notifications so you don't miss a future video, and share with people that you believe will enjoy my experiences or the discussions we have here. I would also love to have you in my Patreon, where for $8.88 a month you get a monthly ritual by me for the benefit of all patrons. So far they have all been and probably will continue to be mostly around the Enochian angels. Patrons also get direct chat with me, where I'll be happy to guide you through practices to achieve your goals, and you get our ebook of the rituals I use, plus some exclusive videos. I'm deeply thankful for all of my patrons, and I really hope you can be the next. Now let's jump back into the story with Lilith. This whole process was mostly pathworking. I was already used to astral traveling with the Sephiroth, the spheres from the Tree of Life, and I did a similar process. I began astral traveling, I left my house, went to space, and from there I began visualizing the entire tree. I began with the Tree of Life from Keter to Malhut, and then I began doing the Tree of Death from Lilith to Talmiel. At the end I choose which one I'm gonna go, and I pass through it as portals to access the planes existing within it. And that's what I did for Gamaliel, the sphere ruled by Lilith. As soon as I did, I could hear screams around me and some creepy crackling sounds, both near and far away. I flew through the space and saw many wandering and suffering beings. Some were crying, others were asking for help, some were already defeated and without any will to improve or do anything, just laying there, waiting for death. As I flew through the space, I also felt denseness around me. It was as if I was floating through some place where the air is extremely thick, almost as if I was swimming in it. Eventually I got to a place that felt like a temple. It was a circular structure amidst a dark background with Greek pillars around and a throne in its center. I felt it was here that I would find Lilith, and I began chanting her name, calling to her presence and asking that she manifests. And manifest she did. To me, she showed up with gray skin, a beautiful long hair, beautiful face, although her teeth were clearly demonic, and she soon began trying to seduce me, touching my arms, my shoulders, my belly. And I said no, but that I was thankful that she showed up, and then I told her why I was visiting, and that I was seeking her promise of never attacking, never lying, never harming me or my loved ones. She said she would accept it under one condition, which was for me to have sex with her. In other words, masturbate while sexually involved with her in the astral plane. I said no, and she said then we cannot have a deal. But I was insistent and said I would stay there asking that what I could offer her was my attention and maybe some evocations of divine light. After some insistence, she agreed and proceeded to swear her oath. Immediately after, she began giving me instructions for the Qliphotic self-initiation I was beginning that day. All of her suggestions were incorporated in my process. During the night of that same day, after a meditation, I felt her presence. I felt the air being heavy around me, just like I had felt within her Qlipha. The sensation of denseness was even stronger, and I began seeing her in my mind's eye. She asked me to astral travel with her to her Qliphoth, Gamaliel, and so we did. Upon arrival, she looked at me and asked, "Would you like to face some of your past trauma?" I immediately said yes, especially given my view of the Qliphoth, but if you want me to share that, leave a like and comment about it, because I can in the future make a whole video dedicated to the Qliphoth, explaining, teaching, and sharing my views on it as a whole. After I accepted, I began seeing images coming to my mind. Not only images, sometimes memories as well. First, of failed attempts at love. As I remembered the people in my life, she would tell me a bit of the situation and what I could have done differently. And she would also encourage me to give love and a warm smile towards that past version of myself who faced the trauma. The theme began to transition to old friends, including some people I didn't even remember back then. Until then, it was like memories becoming activated. Until one very specific came up. This one, I was seeing as if I was living it again. I was a child, maybe 3 or 4 years old. I was going down the stairs, and as I went down, I began remembering the day it was. It was the day when, as a child, I claimed to see a gnome in a plant around the house. I had no memory of the experience itself, but I was so scared that it was a story that my mom and grandma told me about my infancy. So I knew of the episode, but I had no first-person memory of it. And as I went down the stairs, I knew that it was this day. When I passed the door, I saw an extremely deformed, almost as if digitally glitched. Even in the vision, as an adult, I was startled and I feared what I was seeing. It was scary, and there came a big anxiety to my chest. Not only anxiety, fear. The vision was much more intense and detailed than my usual visualization, and I was scared. It was then that I, as an adult, decided to come to the situation as a third being and talk to the child version of me, whose perspective I was experiencing from. So I began imagining me as an adult coming up from the sky and showing up, and as I did this, it was like my perspective that was from the child shifted to be from the adult. And I gave it lots of love, lots of care. I said that I would take good care of him, and that it was okay to be afraid, and then I proceeded to do a banishing of the entity, giving protection to this inner child of mine. At this point, Lilith wasn't saying anything, but seeing what I've just done, I decided to do the same to other situations, and then so I continued going on to past trauma situations, now the ones that I already remembered, and I kept giving love and light to myself as a child, to the version of me who faced all those issues. Although intense, everything felt natural, and I came out of it with not only more memories of my early childhood, but a new sense of peace towards my past. Over the next months, I kept getting more and more memories of my early childhood. But that's something that still happens, I think is part of the spiritual journey of integration of all parts of ourselves. From then on, Lilith has been an important spirit in my journey. I have a deep admiration for her, and given her aspect of empowering women and protecting them, I've consulted her many times during relationship issues to always make sure that I'm being respectful and good towards the women that are in my life. It's my understanding that any man can work with Lilith, but I also believe that if a sexist man who treats women like pieces of meat would not have a fun time with Lilith. So if you're a man and wish to work with her, really think through. And if you can honestly say to yourself that you are really genuine and honest and good to women, you'll have no problem working with Lilith, I think. She was also the first entity in my life to let me know that I needed to break the relationship I was in. She was always very straightforward and brutally honest, never afraid to say what needs to be said. Indeed, one of the best entities I found to do shadow work, confront uncomfortable truths, and other forms of past trauma. Most recently, she also helped me with one night stand, which was not the type of thing I usually do. I normally seek loving relationships, and to be fair, I didn't even ask for anything. I had a ritual schedule with her, but it was for trauma integration. But hours before, I was called to a very unexpected date, and before accepting, I quickly called her to see if it was okay for me to not do the ritual. And she said that not only it was okay, but that was already one of the things she was putting into my life to help me get past the breakup. The same breakup that she was the first to let me know that I had to do. And indeed, I tried some things that day that I've always wanted to try prior to it. So to me, her energy is indeed very sexual, but she's also extremely wise. I've asked her to take care of some friends who were going through tough times or would go to dangerous places and everything always turned out fine. So I really love to ask her to take care of my woman friends especially. Of course, only those who are open to it, so usually the ones who already like and trust Lilith. During our first contact, she also shared her specialties, which were developing and improving astral senses, subconscious exploration, facing, processing, and integrating trauma, empowerment, sexual freedom, and attracting sex, lust, and money. Lastly, she told me she can act in transmutation, especially emotional and internal. So Lilith truly is a powerful entity. But she also did insist on the masturbation thing for a while. It was maybe only after the third or fourth contact where every time she would ask for the same thing and I said, look, I'm not gonna do it and don't ask for it anymore. And then she stopped. Till nowadays, we have a relationship where she's not bothering me to do it anymore. But even though I didn't do it, I trust her and I believe that if I had, or if I decide to do it, there may even be some form of internal alchemy going on that she may catalyze during such an act. So even though I didn't want to do it, mostly because of the Vasago story, I don't see it as a problem. And maybe if I one day feel called to it, I'll be open to it. It's just that at the time, I wasn't. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, check out Patreon. You're gonna help me a lot. I am so thankful that you watched this video until the end. I really hope you enjoyed. Please share your opinions and most importantly your experiences with Lilith here in the comments. Thank you very much and may the divine light bless all of us. Amen. Bye.